Yankees move on to play the Indians. You have the NL version tonight, Colorado and Arizona. And then, of course, we'll see the winner of that advance. And we got the big boys coming into play as well. Steve Gardner from USA Today, kind enough to join me for a couple moments. How you doing, pal?
I'm good, Rich. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'll tell you, after that first inning, I was thinking to myself, I wonder if they're just teasing Minnesota here, because that's a rarity. I can't recall a time where, first of all, I knew Severino was going to get knocked around, but that's a perfect example of a kid that was just not ready for the spotlight, the limelight. He got rattled. He needed to settle down early on, and everything he was throwing, Minnesota was hitting.
Yep, exactly. And that was the thing, too, is that when you're Joe Girardi and you're in a one-and-done situation, in the regular season, maybe you could afford to let Severino work through some of those early jitters or anything like that. But when you've got a situation where your season is over, if you don't win this game, he had to make the move. And the Yankees bullpen, let's face it, is one of the best in the game, if not the best, and they just showed it last night.
It's amazing, too. I mean, listen, the Twins, they're hitting the ball all over the place. They get the 3-0 lead. And then I thought, really, the turning point of the game was the strikeouts by Green. It wasn't the Didi three-run shot. I mean, Green, to me, that kid's got some stones. I mean, you come in, you pitch a couple innings, you get 4 strikeouts. In that spot, after Severino basically gives up 3 runs on 4 hits and he throws 29 pitches, Green throws 41 and 23 for strikes. I mean, the kid just settled down brilliantly, and then it makes the rest of those guys, whether it's Robertson or Chapman or whomever, come in. It just makes their job that much more easy.
Yep, indeed. And can't overlook the job that David Robertson did as well, getting out of that bases-loaded situation, going as far as he's ever gone in a game ever in his career. It was very impressive, and they didn't even have to use the chances. They've got everything set up to go into the next round. It was a fine effort by the Yankees, and you got to give credit where it's due. I thought Minnesota had a chance to hit them early, and the Yankees battled back, got the runs, got right back in the game, and that's what you have to do to win.
I heard Santana being interviewed after the game, and he basically was saying, well, the offense was out there too long. I mean, come on, are you kidding me? They gave you a 3-run lead. Do you think maybe Molitor shouldn't have started him in Game 1 because of his history at that stadium and, of course, his last outing? I mean, I get it. It's hindsight. We're Monday morning quarterbacking right now. But to me, I mean, no, you just didn't have your stuff, period. You just didn't have good stuff last night.
Thing is, though, he was the guy. I mean, we look at Severino, and the easy response to why he struggled is because he was in an unfamiliar situation with that kind of pressure. He'd never been in it before. Ervin Santana has been in situations like that. So I think he was the choice. If you were the Twins, who was the other option? Barrios? And, he may have faced the same sort of, inexperience and jitters, and he did. He gave up a home run to Judge, I think, and he wasn't great. So when you don't have a whole lot of options, that's who you go with. Is you go with the guy that's been the best for you all season long, and that was Santana.
Do you see a scenario where, because Francona hasn't named, or he actually has, he did name his Game 1 starter? Where he hasn't.
Bauer.
Okay,
one,
yes, thank
Kluber
you. Kluber and 2. Thank you. I'm thinking of Girardi. Do you think there's a scenario where Girardi would use Severino in Game 2 only because he only threw 28, 29 pitches, and then if there's a quick hook, there's a quick hook? Maybe throw him back out there, or can you envision you go Sonny Gray and then maybe you go CC on the road and then Tanaka in Game 3?
Yeah, he's got a lot of options, but I think that was one of the positives of pulling Severino as early as he did. He could bring him back. Now, I think Severino will be a different pitcher in his next playoff outing, and I think that's a distinct possibility. He's been the best Yankees pitcher in the starting rotation by far during the regular season. I wouldn't see why you wouldn't throw him out there. If you put him in Game 2, then he's got an opportunity, like the Indians, to have Kluber go in Game 2 and then come back in Game 5 on regular rest. I think you could do that. I think that's got to be in play for the Yankees. And yeah, he's got plenty of options. I would guess, yeah, well, Sonny Gray would pitch the opener, Tanaka the opener. It's a good question. I guess we'll find out here in the next day or so.
Yeah, listen, the real test is going to be Cleveland. One more on last night, though. Aaron Judge, listen, I know it's his first postseason, and sometimes, we exaggerate, but I go back to 2009, that World Series, the Phillies and the Yankees. Remember how locked in A-Rod was? It just seemed no matter what, he was either going to drive in, he's going to rip it a double or a triple or a home run. And I just got that sense last night watching the first couple of bats. Judge, took some pitches, saw some pitches. He was ripping the ball all over the place. It's kind of amazing to watch for a rookie to be locked in like that.
Yeah, exactly. But this is a historic season for Aaron Judge. His first game home run, first playoff game home run. This is his time to shine. And when the spotlight was on him at the home run derby, even he came through. So it seems to me like we were talking about Severino maybe succumbing a little bit to the pressure. That's not a factor for Judge, and he looks locked in. Whatever slump he had going down the stretch, he corrected it by the end of the season, and looks like he's still one of the most feared hitters in the game right now.
I don't know how many people are going to watch tonight, guys like you and I, certainly you, because you have to write about it, and myself, because I got to talk about it as well, but we're baseball purists, we're baseball fans. I don't know. I'm curious to see what the ratings will be, but, I look at these two teams. It also tells you Colorado, Arizona, it's not like you got to be big market. There's always hope. Look what Minnesota did. They lost 100 games, and then they come back, and they win 85 games. There wasn't a huge disparity between wins with them in New York. New York wins 91. They win 85. But Colorado, Arizona, these are two teams that I think exceeded expectations. But I have to give Arizona a ton of credit because this is a team that won 93 games. They've got some talent, no doubt, and they've got pitching. So if they find a way to win tonight at home, again, I can't write this team off going into the NLDS.
Not at all. In fact, we did our staff predictions for USA Today, and I picked the Diamondbacks to beat the Dodgers.
Really?
In the next round. So, not only they have to get past the Rockies in the one-game playoff, but I think they're as good as and maybe better than the Dodgers. This is a completely different team with J.D. Martinez. And you look at the fact that, they did only win the wild card, and the Dodgers were much better in the regular season record. But the Diamondbacks team that has J.D. Martinez is a completely different team than the one in the first 4 months of the season. He completely transforms that team, and I think they do have, they've got Zach Greinke as their starter tonight. He's solid and borderline ace material, one of the better pitchers in all of baseball this season. They could get him going twice in a division series. Yeah, I'm not looking past the Rockies. They're a very good team too, but I think this Diamondbacks team is dangerous, and it can do some serious damage in the next round if they were to win tonight.
Oh, and their offense is stacked. I mean, like I said, you've got, when you go top to bottom, it's rare 1 through 9 where you can really look and say, okay, you've got anyone there that's got power. I mean, you mentioned whether it's Martinez or Peralta or Goldschmidt, whomever, Drury, Owens. I mean, the list goes down and down and down. Jake Lamb. So they've got power all over the place. I mean, it's a scary lineup.
It sure is, and they've been hitting on all cylinders. For the second half of the season since Martinez came there. I think too the pitching can certainly carry them. Robbie Ray is one of the more underrated pitchers in all of baseball. He can be dominant at times, and this is that particular time where you get to see the strikeout pitchers, and they become so much more an important part of a team's roster. It is definitely a dangerous team, and you have to watch out for the D-backs.
Let's get you out on this for a couple moments with the NL East and the Philadelphia Phillies. And it was not – I know we've talked about this now for a while. I just never thought McKinnon – and it's weird because Pete McKinnon, they keep tearing up and giving a new contract, this, that, the other thing, and then they decide, okay – we're going to relinquish the duties, you're fired, but we're going to keep you in the organization. Now, I had Scott Profrock on yesterday, their assistant GM, and I asked him what they were looking for basically in a manager going forward. And I got the sense, and you tell me what you think. To paraphrase, it was more of a guy that's been recently removed from the game. I mean, do you find that some of these organizations that have gone through that rip down, that tear down, and then rebuild, if they want a younger guy that can relate to the players, recently removed from the game, maybe they don't always have to be a sabermetrics guy or an analytics guy, but a guy that is still in touch with what's going on? And do you think that was the case here in Philadelphia?
Yeah, it's a curious situation. Going from Ryan Sandberg to Pete Mackanin, it seems like there's no
rhyme or reason to what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. There's no pattern. So I don't know who that would describe. Who's out there that describes.
Well, I threw out like Alex Cora. Ausmus had the bad ending in Detroit. I even mentioned McEwen, Jorge Valendia, who's actually within the organization with the Phillies. They're high on him. He's a good scout. He's helped develop some of the Latin American prospects. And then I didn't. He's not going to tell me what direction they're going per se, but. I don't want to see them do a retread with, say, a guy like Buck Showalter, who's still under contract through 2018. I understand he's got a relationship with a lot of the current front office, but it seems as though if they were to go that route, you make that hire because of the name alone.
Yeah.
It just I don't know. Something just doesn't add up, because then you listen to McPhail talk yesterday, Steve, and, he's basically telling the fan base, hey, set the bar low. We're not going to spend a lot of money. We're going to have low expectations here.
You think? I mean, maybe Ron Gardenhire might be one of those kinds of guys. I mean, he was well respected. He's been, out of at least out of the managerial role for a while, but a good reputation with young players. I don't know. I think you need to have somebody that can relate to these young guys, because they're going to be the core of the franchise. You're not going to give a manager a one-year deal or a 1 year and an option. You're going to need to sign somebody to at least a couple years to bring them in. You definitely need somebody who can work with the young players and get the most out of them, because that's where obviously the Phillies' future lies, in this young core that's coming up now. And it's not a bad team, really.
Young infield
from a talent standpoint.
Yeah, prospects. I mean, I still think they're going to have to go and get another arm. I don't know if they're going to put Galvis or Hernandez on the market. You still don't know what you do with Franco, but you saw the emergence of Hoskins. You got Crawford. They've got young players. They have a ton from what they'll tell you. I'd really have to dig deep and do more research, but they've got a ton of prospects. We know that, but they're talking about 20 or 30 that are top 100, 200. Well, again, let's be honest. Would a 6 or 7 maybe have an opportunity to get a call up to the major leagues? I mean, I look at the NL East. You've got the issues with the Mets, the issues with the Braves, and then you have what's going on with the Marlins and Jeter. And this is where it's going to be interesting to really watch. Two things I don't hear anyone talk about. First of all, he's got the Players Tribune, that website that he owns. Now, he's probably going to have to just stop doing that, because he's going to have to watch what he says. And I understand there's nothing controversial in that, but I guarantee you someone's going to tell him, listen, let someone else run that. Let someone else handle that, because he's got to be careful what goes out there, and then it could potentially be a conflict of interest. That's the least of his problems. The second is when a player comes walking through the door and they say, listen, you of all people should know what it's like to want, major dollars. You played with the Yankees. You were a marquee player. You were a star, face of baseball, Hall of Famer. I want to get paid like you were getting paid. Now, again, it's a flip side, right? Because now he's got to okay that, sign off, and write the check.
Yeah, he said yesterday that they may have to make some painful decisions. I wonder if that's in regard to Giancarlo Stanton. That's the big question, I think, surrounding what Jeter is going to have to do, and maybe the first major thing that he decision that he has to make there. But you make a good point about the Players Tribune. He's going to have to divorce himself from that, because they had so many players come in and write guest columns.
Yep.
You could certainly see that the tampering rules or whatever.
Oh,
else.
Absolutely. I was driving through New York on my off day, and I'll tell you, I love the stadium. All of a sudden, someone's like, "Oh, the Yankees are going after so and so." Yeah, right. I mean, and listen, it's a great website. It's nothing really controversial to it. It's just storytelling from the athlete's perspective. But I'm more concerned. Last one for you. I'm more concerned to see when a guy like that who was a great player and kept out of the spotlight and did whatever he needed to do in a class act. We know the resume and everything. His personality, he never really gave you a lot. He was just, oh, by the way, let me bring the lunch pail to work. But now it seems as though when you're the face of that franchise, which he is right now, he's going to be more in the spotlight. I think he's probably going to have to engage reporters more, the media more. You know, at the end of the day, he's going to make the call. He's going to nay. He's going to yay a lot of decisions. I understand as a player he handled it in New York. But, man, you go in there and you want to start moving around some faces of that franchise. You know, a guy like Conine, who's revered down there, you know, you better make the right decisions. That's all.
Yeah, I think the media in New York, if he can negotiate them and en masse, I don't think the media in South Florida is going to be as much of a challenge. So I don't expect him to step on any landmines or anything like that. I think he'll continue to be, you know, very suave and able to negotiate that very successfully. So it doesn't seem like to me that's going to be a big issue for him, but he will have to make decisions. He will have to stand up and account for those. Yep. And that's where we will see how, you know, Derek Jeter differs from Derek Jeter, the player, versus Derek Jeter, the executive.
That's right. Because, I mean, up until this point, right, squeaky clean. It's been pretty. He's lived that story life. It's been he's earned it, but it's been easy for him as well. All right, you got Colorado and Arizona tonight. Enjoy it, my friend. We'll talk either later in the week or Monday. We'll be in full gear with some of these great races, and of course NLDS. And then I wasn't going to gloat today. I decided I wasn't going to.
No, that's all right. You had to admit you were scared a little bit last night.
Oh, are you kidding me? Did you look at my Twitter feed? I was like, will you pull him already? This is ridiculous. Get him out of there.
I did. And all the frowny faces, too, that you put out.
Yeah, I apologize for those orange emojis. I wasn't mad at you. All right, my friend. I always appreciate you jumping on board.
Thanks, Rich. Always great talking baseball with you.
All right, take care. Steve Gardner from USA Today.